Everybody these days is talking about creatine, not just from the standpoint of physical performance, body composition, but also from the standpoint of cognitive health, of mental health. So what can you tell us about creatine?
There's data to show that there are cognitive benefits to creatine, whether that's focus, concentration, memory. Back actually in 2011, in the American Journal of Psychiatry, they combined creatine 5 grams with an antidepressant versus an antidepressant and placebo. What they found was that the creatine, as early as 2 weeks, had an improved antidepressant response. And then more recently, just in 2025, there was a trial in the European Neuropsychopharmacology, and they combined creatine with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the most commonly used therapy for depression, anxiety. It helps you kind of rewire how you think about different things and gets you stuck in that depressed state. What they found was very similar to where creatine led to an improved antidepressant response.
Now, the dose when it comes to creatine for physical performance boost, it tends to be 5 grams a day. When it comes to the brain, I'm seeing like way higher doses, anywhere from 10 to 20 grams a day.
We're starting to see early signals for perhaps around 10 grams per day. And there's not a lot of studies to say mechanistically exactly what's happening or how creatine brain levels are changing, because it's a lot more difficult to study. But the early signal is seeming to see around 10 grams. But there have been these smaller studies that look at single doses sometimes of high doses of creatine. So there was one that came out where they took sleep deprived people, similar to something like depression. And what they did was they gave them 0.35 grams per kilogram of creatine, which is a pretty hefty dose. And what they found was after that single dose, they had benefits to their cognition, but also brain metabolism after being sleep deprived. I don't know how sustainable some of these higher doses are, but around 5 to 10 seems safer. But I'm sure we'll get more data for these higher doses and maybe even higher in the future, because we don't really know from the brain perspective as much as we know about the muscle.